And I noticed at one point that some of your biggest steps of faith are just getting up the next day and getting through. The last year, golly, the last year has probably been probably one of the most difficult years that America has seen in the last 80 years at least, because of all the stuff that's going on. And so to just get through sometimes takes all the faith you have. And so that being said, I've got 3 guests tonight that they've faced challenges, and we'll talk about a couple challenges, whatever. But my encouragement is to you, just because you face a challenge in your walk with Christ or a challenge in your life does not mean that God has forsaken you or that you necessarily have done something wrong. But it may be something where your faith needs to grow through that situation so that you don't give up when those situations happen. First is Mrs. Henderson, Camry's mommy. No, don't say that. So anyway, y'all want to give her applause? Totally. You ready for this? You're totally ready. It's cool. All right. So you teach at the high school. What classes do you teach?
I teach a lot of different classes. I teach in the Family and Consumer Science department. And so that encompasses a whole lot of different classes. I have Human Growth and Development, Lifetime Nutrition and Wellness. I have Principles of Human Services. I basically do a lot of stuff basically to help people understand about other people, help them understand how to make wise choices for themselves, and hopefully use that information in the future.
All right, cool. So here are the questions. The first one is this. As a teacher and a wife that is passionate about your faith, what challenges do you face?
Well, you guys go to school, right? Is school a challenge? Yeah, most of the time we all have challenges at school. So I'll just tell you my most recent challenge at school. So those of you that are at the high school and you're part of my world, you know, we're like all over the place, right? Yeah, so my class, my room got flooded from the leak that they found at the high school. And it shut down, for the junior high kids that are in here, it shut down half of our school. They're having to replace the floors, the sheetrock, for like half of the school. So we are roaming class to class. And I have a little cart that's about this size, and that's now my classroom. And so in some classes that we have, I do different projects, and so we're getting ready to do some really big projects in my class, and I don't have any of that stuff, and I can't get to any of that stuff. So it's quite a challenge to try to figure out day to day how you be flexible, how you just work through whatever has been given to you in the situation that you have, and make the best of it. And sometimes it's easy to get wrapped up in the frustration part, so I have to just take a step back. It's really easy to gripe. Y'all gripe ever? Yeah, so sometimes I find myself griping, and I have to just take a moment and think about the positive things that I have. So even though my room is gone, my kids are safe. We're all together and we're functioning somewhat in a classroom. And I have really awesome staff that I work with that have opened their doors to me and are constantly asking how we're doing and what we need. And so just dealing lots of different things are challenges.
Cool. So what steps of faith did your family take in the last year? We'll kind of give it back to March of last year.
Okay, so for those of you that are not aware, the man that was on the stage is my husband. So Jay now works here at the church, and that happened February, March last year. I don't even remember exactly.
Oh yeah, it was February because it was in that meeting in the gym. Yeah.
Like right before all of the COVID stuff shut us down. So before that, he was working in the corporate world. He worked for business industry, and that had plenty of its own stresses. So there came an option and availability for him to step in here on a full-time position. He'd been here for a long time, for years, just part-time, and it just came up that we were able to possibly move into that full-time, and it took a lot of prayer and just guidance. We had to take a huge step of faith because the pay is different in corporate world than it is in a church world. Just a lot of unknown was there, and so we did have to take a big risk, but we really felt like God was fully in control of that He led every bit of that, and He got him here right before chaos happened with COVID, and we had to start doing our services online, video services, and he's quite the technological guy. I don't know any of that world, but he was able to kind of keep things rolling from this perspective. And so looking back, I mean, I felt it then, but looking back, I know exactly where God's footprint was all the way through it.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like saying, yes, this is what, like, you're presented with the opportunity to go, Jay, to go full-time. What was it like after you said yes, sure, let's do this?
It was really funny, like, up until the moment, I guess, that the church voted him in, I felt like that's what we were supposed to do, but there was just a part of me that was kind of scared. Like, I was just fearful of what that was gonna look like. And I remember walking back into the gym after they'd had the vote and they said the church voted yes. And it was just this overwhelming, like, this is good, everything's good. And I just felt a peace about it. So it was weird how I knew God's plan, I knew what He wanted from us, and I was still scared to let Him take it. And as soon as it was confirmed by other people around us, I don't know why I felt like I needed that confirmation, but as soon as I did get that confirmation, then there was just this huge sense of peace.
So, step of faith, feeling of peace. Outstanding, cool. So y'all took this huge step of faith. How have those steps impacted the atmosphere of your family life, like your immediate family?
So in my four walls of my home, we get to spend more time together. My husband and my daughter get to work on music more. He's not nearly as stressed when he comes home. Remember, he was working two jobs. He was in the corporate world, and then he came home to do church stuff, because that was his part-time job, and then church on the weekends. And so he really didn't have a lot of free time. And not necessarily that we have a lot of free time now either, but the stress and the demands are different for him. And I think when the person who's the head of your household is less stressed and more at peace, it just brings so much to the whole house that I just feel like we're happier.
Okay. I've seen you in a lot of ways serve others selflessly in a lot of different situations. Give of yourself in different committees and organizations and things like that. And in being a wife of a minister, it's sometimes difficult. That being said, here's the question: how do you refuel in order to keep serving and pouring out and having the kind of not so much griping character that you do?
Okay, the first thing that comes to mind is the people you surround yourself with is huge. So if you hang out with a bunch of people who talk bad about others or are always looking for the
Y'all
negatives,
stop pointing at each other. Good Lord.
or whatever. I think it's really easy. Here's the deal. It's really easy to find flaws in people. Why? Because we all have them. But it takes something extra to look for the positives. So you need to find people who are going to be that positive in your world. And for me, that's one of my big things, is I have to surround myself with people who are like-minded, with people who I can trust and I can depend on. And so as far as my friends, just being around the right people, that's huge, huge, huge. And then things like the women's conference. It was supposed to happen a couple weeks ago and it's been rescheduled, but I am gonna go do that because that's time for me to refresh with my God. And I need that time. Daily time, and sometimes it's not daily because we get busy and things get crazy. But definitely the time that we spend with the Lord and the time that we spend with the people that He puts us around that are positive for us. Those are huge for me.
Outstanding. Despite I added this one. No problems. Rachel, I'm not going to add any to yours. Okay? Despite the challenges that you faced, why do you keep pushing through by faith?
Well, life is full of challenges. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or you're a non-believer, you're going to have the challenges. From my perspective, it's a lot easier to have those challenges and to face those things if you've got God, because He's going to get you through whatever it is that you're faced with.
Sweet. Okay. Would you take one question from the peanut gallery?
Sure.
Okay. One question, preferably from a lady. All right. Cool beans. Outstanding. Y'all give it up for Miss Henderson. No, don't do that. That's good. All right, Miss Hannah. Y'all don't clap. She's not used to it. She's used to like cheering and people yelling at referees while she's being cheered at the same time. So that's good. I'm going to throw a curveball. Okay. I'm going to throw a left-handed serve at you.
Okay.
No look pass. How about that?
No look pass.
Yeah, no look pass. Okay, so here it is. How long have you been a follower of Christ?
I want to say like my whole life, but when I really started following Christ was at FCA camp. And I think that was in 2012. That's when I really became to know like what being a Christian really is. Like before that I always knew myself as a Christian, but I don't think I had the full understanding. But at that time in my life, that's what I knew.
How old is 2012 for you?
That's 9 years ago, so 9, I guess.
9. Wow. And you're 18. You're a senior. You're about to go into the great unknown.
Yep.
That's outstanding. I'm so excited for you.
I'm excited too.
You're going to be great. Hold that up a little higher.
Better?
That's totally better.
Sorry,
Yeah. We've got a couple half-deaf people.
my bad.
No, right here. So that's good. But I can read your lips. So you mentioned FCA Leadership Camp. What is, because we've had some challenges with FCA the last few years. What is FCA for those who've never been a part?
So basically it's just a group of athletes, but you don't have to be an athlete. You can be anyone in the school, so it's kind of a deceiving name. But we all meet and it's called a huddle normally. And we have a sponsor, and I think you've helped with that a couple times. But before it's been Coach Monig and the Petties when I was a freshman. And in those huddles, we just talk about Christ in our daily lives and how we can be athletes who lead by example and how to be just leaders in our school.
Cool. How did you initially get involved?
It all started with my brother, because he was an FCA with the Petties, and I went to their little groups. They used to have it at people's houses before COVID and all that. And so I would go and sit, and I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to do this one day. And so it started there, and then I got the opportunity to go to camp, and I became a certified leader. You had to take this little quiz thing, but it wasn't hard. And then I loved it, and I just kept doing it, and I'm here today.
What impact would you say FCA and the leadership camp has had on your walk?
I would say I wouldn't be where I'm at without it. I honestly think that. It's helped me grow as a person and as a leader. It made me more confident in my faith too. like I was unsure, but after camp I learned what it really means to be a Christian and how to be a good example in my school and life and just everything in general.
This is a random question. You're not a perfect example.
No.
Okay. But you strive to walk with Christ regularly, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, easy question. That's easy. How do you think your faith has influenced others?
That's hard. Because, I mean, you don't have to see like a real result right then and there. But I hope that I can be an example for young girls and, I mean, anyone in general. But just to look up to as a leader and as an athlete and as a Christian. But just trying to set my example in the way I act and the way I talk and just my whole demeanor. I hope that it can be displayed for everyone.
Good. The last one is this. Has it been difficult walking with Jesus during this last year with COVID?
I won't lie, I'll say yes. It was pretty hard. Especially when we first, I guess it's like this time last year, when we went into quarantine, our church stopped having church for a while. And we didn't go for a while, and we just watched it at home. But I think over that whole time I learned that you can make your own church. And that was the biggest thing I learned for myself, that I can have one-on-one time, I can read my Bible, and I can do the little things that are worship to me. And I don't have to be in that congregation to feel it. But that's what I learned, and it made me grow as a Christian and a person. So I was excited for that, but I was happy to go back to school.
Right on.
Yeah.
Cool. If there's one piece of advice you would give to students following you as you graduate and they move up, what piece of advice would it be to help them grow in their faith?
Don't be scared to be leaders. Don't be scared to make that announcement over the intercom for people to come. And don't be afraid to show up and go to the things. Go to Young Life. Go to youth group. Go. Just do what you think you need to do, and other people will follow your example.
Outstanding. Cool. We'll take one question that's related to anybody. This is the easiest. Wait, who said that? Go.
How would you define leadership?
That's a hard one. Let's see. Not being afraid to do what others are not doing, I guess I would say. And just like leading by example. So having a good attitude, being positive, and being able to hold people's hands through the dark and just lead their way, I guess.
Good. That's good. Ricky was an adult question. We'll take a student question.
Has it been difficult at school trying to set an example while you know that people may not be listening or looking at you?
For sure. And FCA this year has not been super relevant. Like, we haven't had very many huddles or meetings, but I think the example part just goes by being yourself and still being an example for the people that need it. But FCA-wise, it has been very difficult because we haven't had much of one. But I hope to get one for the school year.
And FCA, as it's designed, is a real support system, or especially if it's a small huddle, it's a good support system.
Mm-hmm.
Super. Cool. All right, cool. Give it up for Ms. Hannah. Thank you. All right, so this is a couple, so I'm going to have to move chairs. I don't have a throne or a cushy seat. Stephen actually took the last cushion. No, those legs are leaning. You want to lean on the everlasting arms, not on the lasting legs. So anyway, if we can invite Ben and Rachel Lawley up. Yeah, young people. Oh, look at, dude, look at that. Like, our tech wizard is like a tech wizard. So I'll give y'all this. It's good. Do y'all mind if I sit like this so that I can face contact and stuff? So, yeah. All right. So, what organization do you guys represent?
Young Life. Young Life here in Llano County.
And what is Young Life and its purpose?
Young Life, to boil it down to a mission statement, is to introduce adolescents to Jesus Christ and help them grow in their faith. And what that looks like is going and being with students where they are and building relationships with them in hopes of having an opportunity to share some of my experiences in my relationship with Jesus and hopefully introduce them to that guy.
Okay, so in the way that you, that guy, that's great. So the way that you explain it almost makes me think about people that we've talked about this year. Like one, we talked about William Carey. Anybody remember William Carey, where he went? India? No, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he went overseas. No, I don't know. Dr. Livingston, I think, or David Livingston, and 2 or 3 missionaries, people who gave up everything that they had where they were and went to a foreign place. Who is the female? Lottie Moon. We talked about her a few weeks ago. And Lottie Moon went and gave up everything. And so you guys, Ben, you just graduated, and how long have you been out of school?
Since 2018.
Since 2018. So, so then you pick up everything that was in your lifestyle in Llano and then, or in Waco, and then you come here. So tell me about your steps of faith coming to Llano.
Hey, give it up for her.
Yeah.
So I am an elementary teacher. This is my 3rd year teaching, and so prior to moving to Llano, I had been teaching in Waco, and I was teaching 4th grade at a school called Lorena Elementary.
LES.
Yes, similar to Llano.
Oh, so you didn't have to.
LISD.
Yeah, that's great.
I get confused sometimes.
Wait, so were you in Lorena?
Well, I mean, it's only like 12 minutes.
Oh, okay,
west
cool.
south of
Yeah.
Waco,
Yeah.
so I just.
I used to work at the Brookshires there.
Did you?
Yeah, like when I was in college. Yeah.
Oh, funny.
I
Yeah, the
went from, like-
elementary is like around the block.
Yeah.
That
I went from like Sacker dude to
Yeah.
like being
Worked your way up.
Yeah, and I almost became the produce manager. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Lorena Elementary.
Yeah, totally. Like we're almost
The
brother
Leopards.
sister.
The
Yes.
Leopards. Yeah. And I loved it. My year at Lorena was incredible. I was teaching 4th grade, like I said, and it was just a really good year for me, because it wasn't my first year of teaching, which is the worst. And so I'd gotten past that, and I was kind of in a good rhythm and enjoying it. And Ben and I got engaged almost a year ago in March. And
So you got engaged after COVID started.
You tell this part.
Yeah, so I planned our engagement, as you young men will find out. You plan those things out way in advance. It's
I
not
did.
like a, it worked out.
Yeah, it did so far.
Yeah.
20.
4 years.
23 and a half years.
Thanks, Brandy. You know more about my marriage than I do. Love you.
But anyways, I
23
planned this date out. March 12th was the
What?
date.
March 12th?
Yeah.
That is a huge day in American history. You have no idea how huge that day is in American history. Sorry, he's over there. Yeah.
Wow, happy almost birthday.
Happy anniversary of the day that came into the world.
Yeah, and so March 12th, you probably remember, like, big things happened. It was like
The NBA shut
The
down.
NBA shut down. I mean, they postponed March Madness. I think, who was Tom? Is it not Cruise? It was Tom.
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks had coronavirus, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is
I
like
mean,
real.
If
And that was the day we got engaged.
yeah,
So
so Tom Hanks can get COVID, anybody can.
yeah, that's what we were thinking. We were like, man, we're really done for. Yeah.
Stands to reason.
Anyways, but that was like, we couldn't have seen that coming, and we got engaged that day, and so the entire, since then, COVID's been around, so.
So anyways.
Yeah, anyway.
We got engaged, and we both knew, Ben was on part-time staff with Young Life in Waco, and it was just kind of an understanding that that's what he wanted to do after he graduated, and so he was in the process of interviewing and getting hired on as we were getting engaged. And so those next few months, I really had to come to terms with, okay, my time in Lorena is wrapping up really quickly, and I'm gonna have to step into a new place with new school district, and just not sure of openings there, and all of that, but it worked out so well, and the Lord provided so graciously with a great position at Lano Elementary, and so that was a huge step of faith to just be okay, and I liked that point of just having peace with what was happening and kind of saying yes no matter what happened in that regard.
Cool. So for those of you that don't know, and y'all can ask Ricky, because Ricky's a great example of this. Ricky spent a lot of time as a part-time youth minister. And if you've ever been in the ministry, you know that part-time only has to do with the number of zeros or decimal points in your check.
Or the lack thereof.
Same, okay? So, like, if you work in, like, a first-year teacher in Lano Elementary, you make $44,500 a year, annual salary. That's, to me, that's still big money. That's huge money. You're rolling in the dough, you know? But as a part-time youth minister, or part-time, as Deidre talked about, Jay, part-time only means that you have a certain limited, allotted amount of money that you can live on, and then you've got to find other ways of supporting your family. Ricky worked probably a good 60 hours a week when he was in Jacksonville, plus going to school, okay? Just so that he could do what God had laid on his heart to do. And so then as you're part-time finishing up school, you're getting a limited amount but now you have to raise all your funds, more or less, right? Okay, how does that work out?
Well, yeah, Young Life is 100% community supported, and so if we don't have donations, I don't get paid. It's a lot more to that than just like, oh, we don't have money, we don't get paid. Like, Young Life is a huge organization, and there's grace periods and all that really boring stuff. But yeah, if we don't raise money, more or less, I don't get paid, and so it looks like relationships. I mean, at the end of the day, we have this term in Young Life it's a phrase, it's contact work, and it's going and making contact with people and communicating with people, asking them what they do, caring about their jobs, caring about what they're doing in school, caring about the sports they play, and through that, very uniquely, you create what? Relationships. Exactly. Y'all all got it. Crazy. Y'all could all be
Is your wife a teacher? Because the way that you interact sometimes is like very teacher.
Yeah.
Like, here's the statement, here's the question.
Yeah.
Draw from the audience. That's really good.
Yeah.
But she was even talking with her hands a while ago. She's like 3, and then she's like 4, and then rhythm. I saw that.
She has to do the
Yeah.
hand signals to me because I'm like losing track of saying.
Steal second.
Yeah.
You'll see that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I don't know. Does that answer your question? I don't. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's totally like, at that point, your income is based on faith rather than like the hours that you put in. Because the other side of that is when you're in ministry, oftentimes you're never really hourly pay unless you work for a church that thinks that he's going to pay you hourly. You can ask Ricky about that. That's a long.
Wow.
If I got paid hourly, I'd get paid a lot more.
Yeah.
I think.
Now, if you take your salary and the hours that you put in, you actually get paid less than minimum wage.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like if I got paid for every hour that I was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and
Maybe.
if subs got minimum wage, they'd make a lot more too. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to talk to the
Justice
school board
for
about that.
substitute teachers, am I right?
Yeah, yeah. So you always put in more hours than what your part-time pay looks like. So just, I mean, as you guys consider the step of faith, leaving Waco, coming here, and then both of you starting a new job, and then what happens when school starts as far as, because Young Life is very social, what happens with Young Life when you get to Lano and school starts?
Is that a question for her or for me?
You,
Okay, well, that's like when the season starts. You know, we've got kind of 3 semesters as a Young Life leader and youth pastor. It's, fall, spring, summer. And so there's 3 different sections of the year. They all have important distinctions, like spring semester, lots of sports. students are super busy, and you just kind of know that. In the fall, football, volleyball, those are big Friday night heavy hitters, and lots of things go into those things. And so the summer camps, things of that nature. And for us, going back to finances, like our financial master calendar, we've got a huge fundraiser in the fall, a smaller one in the spring, and so there's just, once school starts, it's like, all right, we're going until Christmas break, and then Christmas break, you've got, 3 months of solitude.
And stock show.
And stuff, yeah, well, we don't do that.
But you can make ministry connections to people who are showing pigs.
That's not great.
Yeah.
You don't see me
Or
the month
sheep.
of December.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rachel wants us to get chickens.
I can help you with that. My wife could help you with that.
We don't want chickens.
If she wants, oh, here we go.
Yeah, well,
And a dog.
and a dog. But we need a fence and a mortgage, not just a rental, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are chickens just right down the road from you, though.
Yeah, true.
You can come visit our chickens anytime you want to.
Okay.
And our dog.
Anyways,
Bring them in.
yeah,
Eggs are good.
yeah, we love
Yeah,
eggs.
chickens love eggs. Yeah, protein. No carbs. So, due to COVID, what happened to Young Life this year?
That's a great question. Young Life has, like everything else, been pretty impacted. I can't, so a major part of my job is just going and being in the school whenever I can. And right now that is 0% of the time. If there's a no visitor policy, I call Mr. Patrick every month. He's a great guy, he loves me. And he laughs every single time I call because he's like, I'm sorry, dude, like, you just can't get in. And so that's severely impacted everything. And so we, club is what we usually do on Monday nights. That's not been happening because it's super not socially distanced. And so for a while there, we just were kind of on pause. And then after the new year, we decided to kind of start slow, have our campaigners group, which is like a smaller setting Bible study, and hoping after spring break to kind of get some outdoor events once daylight savings hits, it gets a little warmer, maybe get some kickball, something fun. It's kind of outdoors. So that'd be in place of a Monday night club
Yeah.
gathering.
Is there a Monday night coming up that's a big thing?
There is, yeah, March 22nd.
March 22nd?
Yeah.
What's going on March 22nd?
Hannah Snicken, do you know?
March Madness thing.
Yeah, we're having a March Madness 3-on-3 basketball tournament. None other than here.
Yes.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's free.
I'll be
Sign up.
here to tip off and play if I can find 2 more adults that'll play with me.
There you go. There you go.
They're great.
Yeah.
Will you allow 8th graders and adults to play together?
We'll talk about it.
All right, because I got 2 8th graders that I think one of them can play.
Okay.
The other one, I don't know if he's motivated.
I'll send you our giving link and then we'll talk.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, there's a basketball tournament happening, 3-on-3. Anybody can come. You just sign up. You'll hear more about it at the school. I'll get some people that are going to hand out some flyers for us. So,
And that's high school and up though?
yeah,
Okay.
high school and up. I'm sorry. Hey, so you know, we're not going anywhere. It's
Yeah.
annual, man.
Yeah, it's annual.
That means every year. Yeah, so that means you'll get it at least, or at the least 4 times. I don't know what kind of student you are. You may be 5. Hey, as long as you finish,
5 years of football, 5 years of March Madness. I mean, it's just
true. There's worth it. There's pros and cons.
never mind.
Anyway,
The world just spins a little faster for him. He's like, whoa, slow down. That's good. Okay, so Rachel, you serve as a teacher in our school, but how long have y'all been married first?
In 2 days, 6 months.
Aww.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Like, if I had Girl Scouts in here, I'd buy a box of cookies just for that answer.
Man, we got some Girl Scout cookies recently. They did not last long.
There's no expiration date on those,
There is at our house. It's
Just you
less
eat
than-
'em, yeah.
It's like less than 2 weeks.
right? So, Rachel, do you partner with Ben, or what does that look like?
So my role in Young Life is similar to the role that I had when I was in college. At Baylor, I was considered a volunteer leader. So not on staff, not raising the funds, but yes, partnered with Ben and on a team with him, knowing kids, meeting kids, hanging out with kids. Yeah,
Do you,
having all the fun.
This would be a question for some of the ladies in here who plan to get married and support their husbands as a Proverbs 31 woman, okay? Do you support Ben because you're his wife, or because you legitimately feel the call to minister to students in Llano County as well?
The latter.
Okay,
Because I mean, before I met Ben, I was involved with Young Life, and I loved just the mission of it, and kind of had a heart for it in the same way that Ben does, and so,
We met through Young Life.
yeah. That was,
Met my wife at Young Life.
at
Met my
club.
love at club. This is just Young Life.
see, I was about to drop some rhyme on that, but like, then you were like,
It's like a thing.
yeah, okay.
We're not going to kickball.
No, we weren't.
Hey.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Ben, did you give her a spoon?
No, I didn't. We didn't go to camp together. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that'll be, yeah, we have to talk about this whole spoon thing. 'Cause
Yeah, it's like a.
spoon to me means like a game where you take spoons from people, not give them. So
Violent.
that's violent.
Very
Yeah.
violent.
Is the one you run around in a circle?
No.
No, this is a card game where you.
It's
It's crazy. Yeah, spoons. Yeah. All right. So why do you do what you do? Like, if you didn't do Young Life. Sorry, I just went to like one of those senior nights where they like, if I weren't in Young Life, a farmer I would be. Give, that's a give.
There you go. There you go.
So, if you weren't in Young Life, what would following Christ look like to you? This is a question for both of you.
Okay.
Wait, what was it? I thought it was for her. If I was not Young Life,
What would you do as far as following Christ?
I don't know.
I think similar to now. I mean, finding ways to serve, finding ways to.
So you actually, Rachel, you had a 2-year gap from being a volunteer leader to being as a volunteer leader again. So you could speak to that. What did you do?
I mean, I attended church, you know, and was involved in a life group, a Bible study with some really great people, and had that input from other believers that really helped my relationship with the Lord grow, and spurred me on to serve, like I was saying, and to be a part of the church and help build others up. And,
Yeah. If I was not a part of Young Life, how would I, what was it?
Yeah, you were trying to do the song.
Yeah, every time you say if I were not Young Life, I'm just like, I'm ready to do it.
Fence post, I would be.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, if you weren't in Young Life, what would following Christ look like for you?
Man, that is a good question. I think, very similar. I have well, I don't know, man, because I have such a mind that's like geared towards the ministry of Young Life. That's like, when I was in high school, I was like, dude, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to go on Young Life staff, And so that's kind of a hard question to answer, but I just think the same. The best ministry you can be is a minister to yourself, pouring in to your own relationship with the Lord and allowing that to do work through you and your community. And so just being plugged into a church, like Rachel said, and we were both a part of life groups, and those were pretty life-changing for both of us. And through that, we're just given multiple opportunities to serve not only our church, but our community, and all of those things. I mean, just serving the men that I was in this group with is service, and so praying for them, checking on them, being with them, all of those things. And so I think like that's a very natural way for us to answer that question.
Cool. Anybody have any questions for Rachel first? One good question. It looks like Lindy just said you have a question.
So you said that you were in Young Life, so is that why you became a teacher for the kids?
well, not necessarily. I mean, it all kind of flowed well together. I have always wanted to be a teacher. That was kind of my first, growing up, I was reading to my stuffed animals, that whole thing. I think it's normal if you want to teach, but I actually have an older sister who I really followed in her footsteps. She went to Baylor 2 years before me. She was also going to become a teacher, and on top of that, she got involved in Young Life. And prior to that, I didn't know much about it, and she kind of opened my eyes to what it was and what it looked like, and I was like, man, that sounds really cool, and so I got involved in the same ministry. Yeah, teaching is kind of my number one goal.
Any questions
I
for?
mean, they serve hand in hand. I can kind of answer that question too.
True.
Just speaking into the whole relationship aspect that Young Life so heavily emphasizes, her sister and I had a conversation one time where she was talking about how just the ideals that come from contact work and those things play into everything that we do, right? Because at the end of the day, all of life is relationships. No matter what job you're in or what grade you're in, you have relationships with everybody. And so speaking into being a teacher, I think that, building those relationships, what she learned in Young Life went well with teaching, and what she learned in teaching for sure went well with Young Life as well. But yeah, Rachel always wanted to be a teacher.
No, that's really good, because I like the way you put that. It's good, because it kind of goes hand in hand. And, I think one of the things that I want some of y'all to get specifically is being a follower of Christ ultimately makes you no different than me. Meaning, Ben and I, technically, and Jay, are professional Christians. We get paid to be ministers, and Ricky served in the same aspect. And so there's this concept sometimes that, well, we're paid to be Christians. Well, y'all aren't paid to be Christians. But our job description, as far as what God has told us in His Word, is the same. It is to make disciples, to make learners. So inasmuch as you guys have learned about the greatness of God and people who followed God and been worthy of being looked upon for their faith, the next step for many of you is to share your faith with somebody else in such a way that as you have learned, you allow other people to learn from you. And then that person will learn from you as well. Does that make sense? And so my job description as a minister at First Baptist Church and your job description are so similar. It's really just making relationships that are built on the truth of who Jesus Christ is. And it doesn't matter what your career is so much as what is God doing in your life on a regular basis, so that when Hannah goes off to college, she may play volleyball as a player, or she may intramural, but it doesn't matter if she's on one court or the other. It matters who she is on the court that she is. Living out her faith in a positive way, always making note of the fact that there are people watching. And you guys have been in school long enough, everybody judges. So everybody knows whether or not you're walking with Christ or not. Is that a fair assessment? And Ben and I are far more public in our faith because we are trying to help others know about Christ and follow Him that way. You had a question that pertains to what we're talking about?
At some point.
Is it something that you and I can talk about?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's do that. Stephen, same question. Is this something that... Okay, good.
Ben, what does your average day entail?
Oh, wow. That is, you know what? I get asked that question a lot, and I really wonder why. I get laughs from other adults in the room. They're like,
Other
yeah.
ministers.
Yeah. My average day looks like, actually, waking Rachel up. The alarm's on my side of the bed. It goes off at 6 a.m. and I roll over and say, 6 or 6:30. Some days I hear 6:30 and I roll back over and turn the other alarm on. And some days I hear 6 and I get up and I turn off the standing fan that I require us to have on. And I walk over and turn off the ceiling fan. And then I walk out of the house or out of the room and turn the heater up before the lady will get out of bed.
That's very sacrificial of you.
Well, the deal is because she, like I do not want to start my day in anxiety, and I know that if she doesn't get out of bed, I'm like headed down this path of like you're gonna be late to work, you know, which you know, yeah,
That,
she does.
he
It's
didn't
bad.
run over you with the school bus at that point, but he did bump you at the bus stop.
Yeah,
Just saying, he's like,
but
basically, I've got to get my wife up because she's, yeah.
but from there,
You'll play on that one later.
so the beauty of being paid to do what we're all called to do is that I have unlimited access to be able to pour into my relationship with Jesus. And so on a good day, that starts with reading the Bible, having a lot of time in prayer. Usually I'll read like a supplemental book just to keep me engaged. And sometimes I'll just do something fun. I think for me, one of my favorite ways to be with Jesus is to be with Jesus doing things that he designed me to enjoy. And so fishing, going on walks, running, whatever. Just being with Jesus, being present with Jesus while I'm doing these things and asking him to just be with me while I'm doing these things. There's something that's really good to start my day with. And then from there, I have an office that I go to, and I will do administrative tasks. And so I get to look at emails, I get to look at where we are financially, I get to figure out, okay, who do I need to speak to, my committee members, people in the community, who do I need to touch base with and just call and check on. And yeah, like my entire job is just relationships. And so it's with adults, it's with kids, it's with everybody in between. But yeah, as the day progresses, school comes out or gets out, and in a perfect world, I'm with students around 2 o'clock, seniors get out that have early release. And then a lot of the time I'll go up to practices, which is usually 3:30. And so I'm up there, and then I come home around 5 or 6, and then I'm done. And it depends. I mean, there's stuff on Monday nights, sometimes stuff on Thursday nights, but that's like a normal, 8 to 5 schedule day, I guess.
So it could be as different as the day is.
Yeah, I mean, my job, my supervisor, my boss would tell me that my job is to do work efficiently, but to not be scared to be interruptible. And so I want to go do stuff out in public and desire people to interrupt me. If that makes sense.
So,
Yeah. That's the freedom of Young Life. I just I get paid to be with kids. That's it. And the only work that I do outside of that is making sure that I get paid so I can go and be with kids. Does that make sense? All of that stuff is contingent on that.
Hannah, real quick question for you. This is a deep, deep question. After all you've been through and seen in your 18 years of life, why do you follow Christ the way that you do?
I think I've seen it in the adults that have been in my life, and I've also seen it in people who don't have Christ. And so I know that I want to be more like people that do, because they have more of a safety net, and they just feel better about their relationships. And I've seen people, I love listening to testimonies and hearing that people went from this to this through Christ. And so I always knew that I want to have Christ in my life. He's powerful, and I can always lean on him. And
Would you describe your walk with Christ as passionate, moderate, or apathetic?
not apathetic, and that'd be sad. But I would say a mix of the two. There's good days and there's bad days. There's days that I get really busy, especially with sports, and I feel like I'm falling behind. But I know that he's always with me, and it's not like a consistent thing. He's always there. I can always reach out, and I know that it's not going to change that I'm Christian, and I'll do anything to keep it going.
Good. Same similar question. Why do you more or less? This would be the question. Why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do?
I do what I do because I think it's important enough for me to do it.
Why is that?
I went to school, I studied psychology, I minored in criminal justice.
Maslow.
I wanted to go and either work for the FBI or go to medical school and become a clinical psychologist. And around sophomore year, that changed. And I decided, you know what? I've always thought about Young Life Staff. I'm really thinking about Young Life Staff. And I'm going to do Young Life Staff because my life changed so greatly because of Jesus. And I felt like I was doing a disservice to people in Llano, now that I know, if I didn't follow that passion to share it with everybody else. And so it's not a matter of like, hey, this is what you need to do. It's a matter of, hey, this changed my life so much so that I chose to do it for a living, you know. And I think you should hear about it.
Sweet, good. So we're gonna like pause y'all out because like,
Usher us off?
huh?
Usher us off?
No, we're just gonna pause it out.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do now is to get in your small groups. All I want is like for you guys to visit with each other for about 5 minutes and just pray with each other. Look each other in the eye. Things are about to change a lot in our state because some of the restrictions are starting to change. But the bottom line is, and Rachel alluded to it, she talked about life groups, is your small group should be a support system, not a drama central. And so when you meet over here in this group or in that group out there or in this group out here or in the junior senior group, it should be a support group so that when you make eye contact with everybody, you can go, I know that they are going to support me in following Christ and moving forward with my faith so that I can be everything that God's called you to be. Does that make sense? And so I want you guys to spend just 5 minutes about just looking each other in the eye. How can we pray for you? And then Splitsville. And then enjoy the day tomorrow following Christ and being challenged by Deidre. And how long have your mom and dad been married? Do you know? So more than your life? Yeah. So a long time. And so you've had the benefit of watching two parents who love each other and love God together. And so, yeah, I don't know why I brought that up, but that was pretty cool. And then, yeah, cool beans. Outstanding. So small groups, just meet for 5 minutes and then Splitsville and then go enjoy your day tomorrow. And if you have any questions for Rachel and Ben, I'm sure they'll stick around, but I think Hannah was like lickety split, like getting on a plane to like Mozambique or Rwanda after this. So, but if she sticks around, you can ask her a question, but only questions that pertain to like her walk with Christ, not how do you serve, like.
Y'all can ask that, I don't care.
I have a lot of questions about volleyball. I don't understand. I've never returned to volleyball and it like not hurt. So I think I'm doing it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, pain is the game. This is why I'm not good at volleyball.
Pain is weakness leaving your body.
Oh.
Amen. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and Marines don't die, they just go to hell and regroup.
There you go.
Exactly.
Hoorah! All right, that being said, go to your small groups where you normally meet, pray for 5 minutes, and then go.
Just advancing.